All right, everybody, this is Sheets, and this is going to be my first League of Legends video. And I think what I'm going to do is I want to focus on the lineup build process. I've already downloaded most of my sheets for this slate, but there's actually one source that I still want to draw from. And I also have not had a chance to get Chan's kind of substantive takes on these games. So I'm probably going to redo this, but just to kind of show you the way I'm kind of looking at this slate from an analytical perspective, I think it might help you. We'll see. So we're looking at my the sheets that you can access on TrueDFS, which first of all lists these guys just by projections. In other words, this is not the stack look, and as you can see, which is you'll see in most LOL slates, you have two teams really dominating the projections, and that being FPX and EDG, right? Okay, that sounds great, but it's important to know by how much they dominate the projections, right? And where their ownership comes in relative to those projections. Like you'll see that FPX is the top three projected guys, and then you'll have Tion down here. Naguri down here, but you will see that they're going to be the highest owned, which makes a lot of sense. And then likewise, you'll see EDG, the second highest projected, and they're going to be the second highest owned because these are the two favorites in these games. I rated these guys by Sheets value score, and then you'll see, obviously, there's going to be a decent sized drop down to the underdogs, because the results are somewhat binary. You know, if one team does well, it's not that likely that the other team does particularly well, right? So that's kind of the deal. So you're going to have, okay, FPX and EDG are basically going to dominate the projections, and they're going to be highest owned. And as you might imagine, from when you look at them from the stacks view, it's even more dramatic, right? So you look at them from a modified stack view, you'll see FPX rates somewhat higher than EDG. And then these other guys are like half the price, and not half the price, half the value. And you'll look, and from an ownership perspective, they are significantly lower owned. Now, what I will say from looking at this right off the bat is that if I had to pick one of the underdogs, well, you think about this. Which underdog would you pick if you had to? Right? Well, on the one hand, LNG certainly is, I guess, closer to EDG than WE would be to FPX. The gap in ownership between these two is severe. So maybe WE would be the better underdog to pick if in fact you had to pick an underdog. But the way I look at it is, do you in fact have to pick an underdog? In other words, what if you just went with the top projected plays and the top stack, top projected stacks and things like that? You know, if they're going to outscore the other guys an incredible amount of the time, especially relative to their ownership, you still want to play them. So that's why, for me, I like to run these through SaberSim and then take a look and see what's going on. Okay. So what I did was I uploaded my projections into SaberSim, and I ran a full 150 lineups. Now, again, I'm never going to play 150 lineups because there are only so many combinations. You're just basically going to take your own money if you play 150 lineups. I don't know, there are some people that max enter whatever it is, 60, 70 lineups. I think it's silly. I think you're throwing money away by doing that. But the question is, which lineups do you play, and how many do you play? So the first thing I do is I will show you my, you'll just trust me. When I ran my builds, I already set it for a decent amount of smart randomness. So it's already taking into account the fact that I don't necessarily want the most likely results, and I don't want the chalkiest result. So I did put in a certain amount of ownership fade. And what I'd like to look at first is kind of the nature of these stacks. And the first thing you'll notice, I mean, and this is, you got to do these enough times to kind of appreciate this. You know, only half of the stacks are 4-3s. A full 40% of them are 4-2s. And part of the reason for that is sometimes the salaries are structured such that it is hard to get some of the 4-3s. You'll also see in this particular build that you're getting a decent amount of 3-3s, which doesn't come in all that often. So when I'm looking at the slate, I'm immediately thinking that there's something about the salaries that are making the standard stacks kind of difficult to get to, which is good. You know, this is what you look for, is to try to get some kind of edge in slates where, you know, things are not that easy. So one thing that I like to look at is where these stacks kind of rate. Okay. So, and one thing you'll notice, and this is really cool. Normally what you do is when you rate these guys, the top rated stacks will almost always be 4-3s. Okay. But what you'll see is if I filter these by 4-2s, you'll actually see the fourth rated stack be a 4-2. Okay. Actually, the 4th, 5th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th are all 4-2s. Now, again, the top are going to be ranked 4-3s, but I find that very, very interesting. And it doesn't take too long to scroll through this to figure out why that is. What's different among this, these 4-2s is this. These 4-2s allow you to get the 4-man FPX stack using the FPX in the captain without having to use them in team. Okay. And that's a really, really big deal. You know, the team is typically going to score less than the position player. So if you want to play the 4 top guys in FPX as your long stack and in the captain, you're not going to be able to do it by getting EDG as that third, as part of a 4-3. You're going to have to go to LNG as a one-off team play to make that work. Let's look at some of these other 4-2s. This one allows you to get 3 of the FPX long stacks, right? It lets you get LFWX in the captain and Dorian B, who's probably the best play, with Crisp, and yet you still have to play FPX in the team. This one puts Light as a single one-off, and this one's probably going to be kind of lower owned because it's very unlikely, well, I would say unlikely. There are people that will play the 4-2s and put the team spot in, but not that many people will go ahead and put the LNG, you know, put the ADC as the one-off. So I do think this is a particularly kind of intriguing lineup. This is another one. This one allows you to get 4 FPXs, doesn't let you get them in the captain, but this one is going to be probably pretty unique because this one puts only 2 EDGs, including one in the captain, and it has LNG as a single one-off in the team. This one again, this one allows you, this one doesn't even let you get 4 FPXs, right? This 4-2 is, oh, it does actually. This one is gets you 4 FPXs, including one in the captain. This is similar to this one that was ranked number 4. This one, again, puts LNG solo in the team, and you'll see it's 4,400. That's why it allows you to do this. This one lets you get a full 4-man EDG stack and only 2 FPXs. This one, this 4-2, again, 4 EDGs, including all 4 position players, 2 FPXs, and then WE in the team, and so on. You see this big drop down to number 17. So you really want to focus on these 4, the 4, the 5, the 7, and the 8, and 9 as really, I think, good low-owned opportunities, okay? So let's then take a look at the 4-3s. And let's see where these guys rank in our list. You probably see these will rank kind of elsewhere, probably the top ones. But what I'll find is, check this out. If I click on the 3-3, believe it or not, this 3-3 stack rates to be the third highest based on Saber score. And I find this amazing. I am not going to be the one to dispute this. Right? I'm going to probably play it because no one plays 3-3s. And I've just done enough of these SaberSim builds where just when you think that something just can't come in, it just does. And I keep going back to that one slate where I basically dominated the whole board, where there was, I played 20 lineups, and I think 10 of my lineups literally was 1 through 10, like all by themselves. So don't think these things can't come in. And it's not that this is unreasonable, right? You have 3 EDGs, you have 3 FPXs. The only thing is it'll let you really just jam all these guys in, okay? And root for a big, upside game from both EDG and FPX. And you just got to hope LNG survives enough in the captain, right? So I find this slate a particularly interesting one to get a little different with respect to your build structures, okay? So check this out, 3rd, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th. So what I would do to answer the question of how many lineups you would play, I would probably play all the way down to maybe 17, 18 lineups. And I do think that this is a very different type of slate. I wish you could have seen my videos and some of these, well, I didn't do any, my analysis of some of these other slates. Some of them have been really, really easy. The top 20 ranked things are all 4-3s, and you just hope you get the right combination and you're on with it. And I think that's okay also. But in this particular slate, I don't think you need to go to the underdogs to get different enough to win these things by yourself. I think just because of the way these things rate, that allows you to get at some of these 4-2s and these 3-3s, I think you can play this slate with the chalk and not get too fancy in that respect, because you're getting fancy enough in your construction. Now again, a different slate might be totally different. And I will say that after I have my my look at the video of Chan, like if Chan really, really likes LNG or really, really likes WE, I might change my mind. I might go straight to the 4-3s of LNGs or something like that. But for now, this is probably the way I am going to approach this slate. Hopefully that helps. Hopefully it wasn't either too simple or too confusing. And that's it.